Welcome back, guys. I'm out today on a hike checking out the trail cams. Just wanted to give you guys an update on what's been going on. Stay tuned. Got my orange and red on because it's deer hunting season, so just want to be really visible. Kind of going through some thick stuff here. Lots of deadfall. Normally have a lot of deadfall around here, but we've had a bit of some windstorms, so it's extra treacherous in here. Of course, going around on an angle. Little downy woodpecker here on our hike. There's a really big pine tree right there. Not too many of those old pines around here anymore. You know, logging got rid of most of those way back when. This area was logged a couple times over the last 90 years. And of course, a few got left because they, had a fork in the trunk, and so it wasn't good for making ship masts. Well, here we are, just almost about a year from where we found those elk bones there that had been chewed up by those coyotes and the whole eagle coyote thing. So I had put them in the tree here, and to get the rest of the meat off for the animals to kind of pick away at it, the birds and such. And it looks like they've done a good job, and just a natural kind of rotting process. So I think these are basically ready to take back to the cabin, and then give them a good scrub down, get those spider webs off, and we can put them on display. So I put one of my trail cameras down here where I pulled up the dock. Sort of looking out onto the shoreline there, hoping that maybe someone would want to come up the edge of the dock and be right at the camera. Just going to open this up here and use my viewer. Yeah, if you look by the side here of the dock, there's lots of sign. Definitely there's a little tiny fur bearer here. I'm thinking probably a mink coming down eating underneath this little dock here. It says I got 492 pictures, so I'm just going to scroll through them and see what we've got. Well, sadly that turned out to be a whole lot of nothing. Take out the card and place it back in the Moultrie. So I'm not really sure what that was all about. I think the lens was pointed a little bit up, and I think maybe a mink or something really small was running alongside the little dock here. So I'm going to reset the camera and point it down a little bit. Hopefully I'll get whatever was setting the camera off. It set it off quite a bit during the day as well as in the early morning hours as well. So I think there is something there. It's not just the sunlight hitting it or some other kind of motion. Definitely I think there's an animal involved, but again, I set up the camera thinking maybe I get some coyotes or whatever coming down to drink, and I'm actually getting some mink or, muskrat or something kind of coming up on the shore. So let's reset it. There's lots of activity on this part of the shore. So you can see something's been kind of digging around. And there's little trails leading up here into the woods. I don't quite know what's doing this, but certainly digging around. It's pretty fresh too. Well, this looks like a really active spot along the shore here. Kind of tramped down, and then when I looked more at the shoreline, found a little bank house of sort. So we're going to set up one of the cameras here too. It's a new spot today. And I'm pretty sure it's being used because there's some scat right here. As you can see, it's that black stuff right there. So maybe that's the guy that was right by the dock there. Let's see. Well, and as I look at this more, that's all dried up poop right there. Just piles of it. So this is a very used little shelter here. So hoping to get some good pictures. Just found this beautiful polypore fungus, and I harvested it. What I plan to do is let it dry out, and then I'm going to paint on the brown surface at the front. Very cool. the den camera. Let's see if we've got anything. So in here you can see there's a little one of the squirrel at the top. Ooh. This one I think might be actually of a fox. Again, it flashed, so it's pretty bright, but right in here you can definitely see some fur. Looks like the height would probably be appropriate for a fox. I like this one of this guy. He knows he's on film. He's working it. Well, that's neat. I think one of a fox and definitely some of a bunch of squirrels. Looks like there's some old chaga on this birch tree. This is the white birch, but as you can see the tree is very dead. Now I wouldn't harvest this because one, the tree is, you know, extremely dead, and I don't think the chaga would be as nutritious on this kind of tree. The squirrels are getting nice and chubby. Hello, buddy. Arrived at one of the grouse drumming logs, and you can see there's lots of sign, and also where he's kind of scratched and been drumming, the moss is worn away. Looks like the wind kind of got at this camera. Slipped a little bit, so I'm just going to open up and see if we got anything. And I did. Got some great ones of the grouse. So you can see him there at the left of the image. I got him there at nighttime. Here it looks like he's all puffed up, ready to drum. And I've come across my other one here on the other drumming log. You can see also where the grouse has worn away the moss. Got some good shots. You can see right there is a squirrel. And we'll scroll through. And there's the grouse, right where the moss is quite worn. It's a beautiful daytime shot of him. He's sort of right there in the middle of the log. So that turned out really good. I've also got some excellent shots along the trail of a beautiful buck. Here, I'll show it to you. I really like how he's directly staring at the camera and posing for us, so very cool. Got the other one set up here in the gully. There's usually a lot of activity in here. And you can see there's deer. He's hiding behind the tree there in the center. He pops out. She pops out, rather. Walking through there in the night. That's a good one. Right, nice posed for the camera. Ooh, cool. There's that buck that saw on the other camera there. He's coming through this way. Ah, there he is. Neato. A lot of bucks this year. Haven't seen that many in previous years, so they're a good size too. And that's it. Just going back to the cabin the back way from our little hike. It's funny, you can see the cabin now a lot better than you could in the spring because all the leaves are down. So there you go. Straight ahead. Since the bears are going to sleep soon, I've brought out the bird feeder again. Chickadees are so happy. They've been harassing me all summer when they see me. Same with the nuthatches. Now they're happy again. One of my rules is before you leave to always fill up the kerosene heater fuel tank. That way when you get here and it's nice and cold, you don't have to mess around with this. You can just get going. Last time I left you guys, we were just getting started on the slate tile here at the front door. And now just finished putting it in. It's just gotta finish up drying here, but I think it looks quite good actually. One thing left is to put sort of a little metal bracket right here just to kind of ease the transition from the slate to the wood floor. For an update on the winter wheat, the turkeys really went nuts on it. But you can see in some areas, you know, where they didn't peck at it, it is coming up, kind of like the wheatgrass right here. So yeah, so you can see it's coming right along in here. I also, you know, once I knew the turkeys were kind of at it, I put up a little scarecrow here. You can see it. I just made kind of like a cross with, you know, some burlap and stuff like that. But, you know, they really weren't all that afraid of it, so they still kept eating away. So I took some of your advice. Shotgun. Took some of your advice and I put it in other locations as well. So I've got some in the woods. I also put some in my my little veggie box that I made. You know, if you recall, I put the radishes in there and the Swiss chard. So I've got some coming up there, as well as in my old pallet garden. So, haha, turkeys. You know, I've got it coming up in other areas too. So I will be able to have a harvest early next summer. All right, I'm back at the cabin now after that really nice hike. It was really enjoyable, but I've got to get back to work. You can see I'm sitting on my little snowmobile here, and last time I was here, I filled up the gas tank and then I could smell a lot of gas underneath it. So what happened was this fuel filter assembly here had a crack right in here, the very, very surface of the fuel filter assembly. So that put the kibosh on firing up the Bravo and getting it ready. So what I did was I bought another fuel filter assembly, which took a few days to come in. I'll show you what they look like. So they look like this. And you got the fuel filter on there, and the crack actually occurred sort of right up in here. This is probably the second time this has happened to me, so I'm not really certain why this is happening, whether it's the vibration and then the extreme temperatures of the summer and winter that cause the plastic to fatigue and crack and then leak. Anyway, I've got a new one, so let's install it. So basically make sure your gas tank is empty, which I already did. And I'm going to pull off this hose. Out. So actually right where the crack is, you probably can't see this very well, is right where my finger is, right where the nozzle meets the head of the cap. I thought it was actually on the surface of the cap, but it's actually, you know, when you start bending this back, you can see it right here. So I think it's some kind of vibration effect, you know, when the motor's running, and then the temperature changes, causing it to fatigue. You can see I've got the new one in place here. Make sure it's nice and tight so you don't feel any leaks around any of the edges. But basically you'll find that out once you put gas in it. And you just put your hose back on. And I've got one of these little clamps here that I'll tighten with a screwdriver. And now time to fill it up and hope for the best. All right, let's see if she starts. Such a tease. Well, I'm burning off some of that sea foam that I put in there in the fall. It always kills it. Let's try again. All right, that was pretty fun. Burning off that sea foam. Well, there you go, guys. Thanks for staying tuned today to the second fall update here at the cabin. Can't wait till winter. Take care, guys.